What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another Fantasy Puck video. It's Chris, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys our must-avoid players video. We have another video coming out in the next coming weeks, which is a similar themed where it's must-avoid elite players, so be sure to stay tuned for that one. These are some players that we think you guys should just basically not draft at all. Guys that are either going way too high right now or guys that just like have no reason to be going where they're going in drafts. So keep that in mind as well, guys. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you guys enjoy our content. We have basically a video coming out every single day from now until the end of September, along with multiple live streams of mock drafts and other great content coming to our TikTok and Instagram as well. So be sure to check those out. I also want to thank our all-star Patreons. Thank you guys so much for supporting us and buying our most premium tier, getting all the benefits that we offer in our Patreon. Things like player projections, trade analyzers, one-on-one support we offer as well too for those of you that are looking for advice in your drafts and who to pick and who to keep in your keeper leagues. Guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Words can't describe how thankful we are for you guys. So that being said, let's get right into the video, guys. We are going to start things off with a goaltender. I have Jordan Binnington as a must-avoid player, in this case, goalie, going into next season. I know there is value when it comes to drafting goaltenders that have a high volume of starts. And Binnington, it was definitely one of them last year. Played 61 games, had 27 wins, 27 losses, but he did have a very, very poor goals against and save percentage, being over a 3.3 goals against averages and being below a 900 save percentage just shows that, you know, you're just not playing your best hockey. If you go to the season before where he played 37 games, he also had a 901 save percentage and a 313 goals against average, so it doesn't get much better. It wasn't just an outlier year for Binnington, especially with a large sample like 61 games. It shows either that St. Louis is bad or Binnington's bad, and I think in this case it's both, guys. Even if, you know, St. Louis does get a little better, I still think in this situation, Binnington is one of the highest goalies on my list in terms of who could lose their starting role in their hockey team, especially with Joel Hofer coming in, playing some games last season. He's a pretty highly touted prospect. Even if the split isn't as close as we think it's going to be going into next season with Binnington and Hofer, even if it's like something more along the lines of like a 70-30, 60-40 type split, I would still much rather take a shot on a guy like Joseph Woll or Akira Schmid, somebody that could be a league winner going into next season, given their ADP especially. Or I would rather go with a more safer option in this range too, like a Cam Talbot or an Antti Ranta, somebody that plays on a strong team, might not get the total amount of volume that Binnington could see, but will overall be a much better goaltender and not be just a 500 guy with a sub 900 save percentage. Binnington is a must-avoid goalie for me this year. Up next, guys, I have a Brandon Montour of the Florida Panthers. This might be a little bit of a hot take for some people, but it's more so just to do with the update of this recent interview that Bill Zito, the general manager of the Florida Panthers, had, saying that Montour could be out until at least November, December, which is never a good sign, especially based off of where he was going into the drafts this year. Look at his ADP, 76.3. That's still really high to be drafting a guy that's going to miss significant time at the beginning of this season. Think about it as like Charlie McAvoy from last year, and look at how late McAvoy was going in drafts. Montour pretty much doubled his production from last year after a massive increase in time on ice in Florida. He played over 24 minutes, where the season before he was under 18 minutes. And these stat lines are great for Montour. Like, don't get me wrong, like 16 goals, 57 assists, 33 power play points, established himself as that #1 power play defenseman. 242 shots, 92 hits, 93 blocks. These are great numbers, great peripherals for a defenseman as well, too, being around that 100 range in terms of hits and blocks and still seeing a good amount of shot volume. But for me, guys, it's just the fact that he's now missing time, and I would much rather go with a safer option in this range. You basically have to hope he's going to play 24 minutes a night again to get this kind of production. If you look towards the season last year where he had only 37 points, you know, barely any power play time, And with guys like Ekblad being there as well too, I know they took him off power play 1, but to me, you basically just have to hope that Montour has established himself as the power play 1 defenseman in Florida if you want to see similar production. Again, I think he's a good option to take in drafts. He's on my must-avoid draft video for the reason that I wouldn't take him in the range that he's going. I would wait till the later rounds to potentially draft him just because at the time that he's going to miss. For me, drafting a guy that early, especially like could be your second or even best defenseman, depending on how your drafts go. To have a guy miss, the first chunk of the season for you and to have him just sit on IR is never a good option for me. Again, I wouldn't mind him taking him a little bit later than his ADP because of that injury. But for right now, Montour is a must-avoid player for me in his ADP range. Up next is Jamie Benn of the Dallas Stars, somebody that seemingly always seems to find his way onto these types of videos for us guys. And he definitely proved us wrong the year before. He had 33 goals, 45 assists with 78 points total, and he had 190 shots. Some pretty decent peripherals as well, too. 97 hits is solid. 38 blocks, doesn't really block too much. But 30 power play points is a lot as well. Guys, for me, with Jamie Benn basically doubling his point total from last season, he actually was playing less minutes this year as well, too, than the year before. He played a minute on average less than the year before, as well as he shot at 17.4%, which basically just, justifies the 33 goals for him, where the 2 previous seasons he's been below 10%. So for me, Benn is a must avoid. I'm expecting a big regression. Dallas also has emerging young talent that could steal some of his ice time. I know they've got guys like Wyatt Johnson. Benn normally plays left wing, but they still have good depth options there as well too. And I just think I'm expecting a massive regression out of Jamie Benn. And based off of where he's going in drafts, he's an absolute must avoid for me going forward. I'm completely off of him this year. Up next, guys, is Tyson Barrie of the Nashville Predators. That is not a typo. He did actually play 85 games last season because of the trade from Edmonton to Nashville, just the way that the scheduling was. I just don't understand why so many people are continuing to draft this guy where he's at. I don't know why people are so high on him in drafts. He won't be the power play 1 defenseman in Nashville next year. We know Roman Josi is the solidified number 1 guy there. His peripherals are average at best. Like the 90 blocks is nice, but if you don't count blocks in your leagues, his peripherals are just completely underwhelming. He pretty much only gets you power play points. He did have 12 points in 24 games when he played in Nashville, which is a good amount. But you got to remember that was when Roman Josi was injured and he was playing on the first power play. I personally don't see a lot of upside to drafting Barrie at all. Even if it's for your 3rd or 4th defenseman, I think there's better options. You can play guys that have better peripherals. You can scoop up guys that are like absolute elite in one category. A guy like Gudas, who I think offers more value than, say, Tyson Barrie would going into next season. I'm not expecting the point totals at all. I'm expecting those to drop. He could be like a 35, 40 point defenseman. And if you look at the way that Nashville is right now, I don't expect their second power play to be very, very good. So unless he just somehow sneaks his way on the first power play and they've run him and Josi there, I just don't see any upside with Tyson Barrie going into next season. And finishing up our video, guys, we have Anthony Deangelo of the Carolina Hurricanes. He's back on Carolina, better known as Tony Deangelo. When he was in Carolina, we saw a great year out of him. 51 points in 64 games with 151 shots, 59 blocks, 41 hits. And last season in Philly, it didn't go too well for him. 42 points in 70 games, which is still a decent chunk. 174 shots, and he had 79 blocks and 52 hits. For me, with Deangelo, it's a very similar situation to what we see with Tyson Barrie now. Usually he's a good later D option because of the fact that he often sees power play 1 when it comes to teams picking this guy up. I don't know if that's going to be the case with Carolina. They still have Brent Burns there, and I anticipate him to be the #1 guy still. And with Tony Deangelo, like, his peripherals just aren't there either. He saw a good chunk of shot volume last year. Anywhere around that 175, 180 mark is pretty good for defensemen. It's above average. But I just don't see him being the #1 power play defenseman in Carolina. Oftentimes, Carolina will even split up their power plays, which I'm not a huge fan of either. For me, I just don't see the upside based off of where he's going in drafts. I'd much rather take other players in this range as well. And I think, I expect his average time on ice to go down. He played 22 minutes when he was in Philadelphia. I expect that to drop, especially just given how deep Carolina's defense core is, especially going into next season. So for me, Deangelo is a must-avoid player. I know some people like to take him as their depth defenseman, but I just think there's better options out there. That is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you guys enjoyed our content. We've got pretty much a video coming out every single day. Be sure to stay tuned. Tomorrow we have must draft rookies. That's always a fun one, so be sure to stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a fantastic rest of the day. I'll see you in the next video.